Hi, this is Tammy with Therapy Talk with Tammy and Pauline. Today I have another great episode for you. I have my friend Karen Quinn with me. And if you remember right, we had a lunch. It was last year sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had a lunch and we just we had an interview where we just kind of got to know her. We were chill, we were relaxed. We took a little trip to Galena, Illinois, and we just interviewed each other kind of. But anyway, so today's topic is, well, I'm going to let you introduce the topic, because this is how I come to know about this topic, is talking to Karen about this. And when you'll see in a second, when she brought this up, I had this aha moment, or this moment of like, whoa, that's really cool. I need to find out more about this. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit today about getting ready to die. And even if you're not sick, like just because it's going to happen,
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. That's what we're all going to do.
Yeah.
And since I'm in my 70s, it's kind of like, well, I kind of don't care if it comes along. It's okay, So I thought maybe I'd read my obituary. That sort of started me when I was in my 20s in a school class. I had to write my own obituary.
Yeah.
And that sort of started it, of always being in my mind. And also that there are Native Americans, like if you've read the Don Juan books.
I haven't.
Of Don Juan goes down and studies with these shamans in Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that death is a friend, and you want it riding on your shoulder.
You want a writing on your shoulder?
You want it riding. You want death riding on your shoulder.
Oh.
Or close by.
What does that mean?
Because it
exactly?
always guides you.
Oh. So you're always thinking about it, and maybe that kind of keeps you, like, maybe accountable to the concept of death?
Well, or just like having your life in line with what you want to be remembered for.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Being really mindful about it.
Yes, very mindful.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people avoid thinking about death,
goodness,
their funeral, their process of dying.
It doesn't happen until they die.
It's a very uncomfortable topic. So you might be triggered. If this is not for you, please shut it off right now, because we are going to be talking about death and dying and whatever Karen brings up today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I thought I'd start by reading my own obituary. It's pretty long, so you might want to cut me off.
Oh, hey, I'll just eat while you do that.
That works.
I don't know how long it is, but I'm long-winded, but I can surely eat while you talk.
Okay, the title of it's kind of Me-Obituary.
That's a creative title.
Yeah. For some reason, I wanted to explain myself to the people I loved and left in Iowa so many years ago. I was born with a calling. My mother particularly, but both parents were abusive. I remember being in my crib on 12th Street and praying that little prayer, "Now I lay me down to sleep," and knowing that even if I died before morning, God had me and I would be fine. In junior high and high school, I worked with Sabbath class. It was a Sunday school class for developmentally disabled individuals who could not attend other classes. As a reward for my work, I got to visit Glenwood with some community workers. It upset me terribly. Mostly it was one girl who had several rows of teeth in her mouth.
Oh.
My parents said I was just too sensitive. This was the basic truth I had to deal with. I'm an empath. As an empath, I feel others' feelings and experiences. My mother thought this was a weakness. What I needed was to be supported to be strong enough to get through these experiences. No one in white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant Iowa could relate to this. In school, I was involved in music because it was my own.
Oh, I love that.
As soon as I could, I escaped to Arizona. There, Native Americans and some other co-workers did not even question my experiences. They shared them. I loved Arizona. I was able to open to the desert experience. The desert is like minimalist decor. Beautiful things are few and far between, but exquisite. Cactus in bloom is incredible. The mountains are etched against the sky in the clear, dry air, and it is beautiful. I did wake up dreaming a couple of times that it was raining and was disappointed to see the sun. The Midwest, after all, was in my soul. I have had so many friends, actually brothers and sisters, who were different colors and religions. Native Americans never questioned my empathy. They shared feelings with trees and rocks and rattlesnakes. When I moved to California, my mother said during one phone call, "I just realized it's like you were called there, so I feel better about it." My whole life was a call, and she tried so many times to interfere with my call. I always listened to the call. I tried shortcuts a few times, but they never worked. So finally, I just became a doctor. I trained horses and dogs and people. I've hunted rattlesnakes to take to the university hospital to make antivenom. I've worked with people from abused 3-year-olds to sexually violent predators. I lived in an ashram for a couple of years and meditated and did yoga every morning. I had friends who were sisters and brothers of every color and religion. I really have had a wonderful life, and I have loved life. In 2006, I had open heart surgery. During the recovery, I dreamed one night that I had died and was getting used to living without a physical body, and I loved it. I walked around on the bottom of the ocean, didn't need to breathe, didn't need to eat or sleep or go to the bathroom, and I loved it. I walked around. It was wonderful. I walked around playing with seahorses, and I've never been afraid of death since that dream.
Wow.
And coming back to Iowa and joining the Presbyterian Church, I finally learned that I cannot expect white, Anglo-Saxon Protestants to really allow other life experiences too close to them. Presbyterians are mostly smart and loving people. I always felt welcome and appreciated by my Presbyterian brothers and sisters, but they could not really relate to my more Native American ways. When Native Americans worship, they dance and sing and drum and play the flutes. Native Americans are brothers to trees and rocks and snakes and everything alive. They do not see a hierarchy with man on top. When they give thanks for food, they thank the animals and the plants for sacrificing for them to live. They thank the earth for providing and the sun and the sky for giving light and warmth and rain to nourish the earth. There is no separation for them of earth and man. They cannot think of abusing the earth for survival, let alone for wealth. I had a vision quest. I learned to withdraw to the mountains or the rivers or the forest and be quiet and listen for the voice of God. I had to, in coming back to Iowa, figure out how to integrate having a church with beautiful windows and music and an organ with listening to the voice of God. Don't know if I have it yet, but I recognize the struggle. I need brothers and sisters in spirit to continue to live, but I cannot allow a building to be more important than listening to the Spirit. I continue to be Presbyterian, but not to allow it to be more important than responding to the needs of God's creation. Instead of paying for a building and a pastor's salary, I paid for children to get treatment for cancer and for animals to have food and water. I continue to love and relate to the men and women in the church because they were loving and thoughtful people and intelligent people who could discuss important things. But my spirit sought the woods and the waters for nourishment, and I sang and drummed and played the flutes mostly in my house or in Zooms with Native Americans.
That was so beautifully written.
That's my obituary.
That's your obituary.
And I want them to read it at my funeral or my memorial service.
Who do you have in charge to make, you don't say names, but you have somebody in charge to make sure that happens. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm like, if you don't, I will be that person for you.
Well, I would like for you to be involved because the person I have in charge is very sensitive about doing what I want.
Mm-hmm. Sensitive as in?
As in, he would never do anything I didn't want.
Right.
He would never change something that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not like into poetry. And, I mean, he could read this obituary and like it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, if you ever roll for me, I will
good.
Gladly
I will
accept
tell him.
that.
I will tell him that.
It's an honor.
Thank you.
Yeah. Again, this is such a novel idea to think about our end while we're still alive.
I know.
It's so, yeah.
One of my doctors, I had breast cancer a couple of years ago. And the oncologist was very upset when I went off one of the medications because it just was making me have hot flushes and cramps
good God,
and leg cramps and awful things. And so I had done some research, and I found out that with my kind of cancer that I had, there was a less than 10% chance that it would ever recur. And the medicine had a 10% chance of causing ovarian cancer. And I went, you know what?
Like, let me balance this
You
out.
know, I think I would be ready to go. And she just could not. It was like, that was so foreign to her.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have people in their 80s, she told me, and 90s who have recurrence of breast cancer. And I said, well, I'm in my 80s or 90s. It's okay with me to go.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, oh.
Yeah.
So I'm so into preserving life. And I said, yeah, well, there are times when death is not the worst thing that could happen.
Mm-hmm. I know, and I think we have coffee and lunch every once in a while, and you check in on my mom, and for those of you who don't know, my mom has dementia, and she has been kind of preparing for her death. Well, basically, not as much as Karen has, obviously, but her mindset is, why am I still here? Why am I still alive? Why hasn't God given me my thing to do ASAP so I can be in heaven, so I can be with her other deceased family members and things like that? And my mom has a great peace about it. And she thought for sure, we shared this, she thought for sure that by April 2nd or April 1st of this year, that she was going to be dead and in heaven and with the Lord and with my dad and a bunch of other people. And we talked about, like, how is she going to be after that date if she wasn't taken by them? And so with you and I talking about this, and then kind of having that in the back of my head, like, my mom is ready to go. She doesn't know what else her mission or purpose on life on earth is. And that really, like, I think that kind of paved the way for, like, our conversation, because I was, like, already kind of prepared that people do accept it. People do prepare for it. And I had to change my mindset, because my mindset is probably like a majority of people out there, where it's scary, and if I talk about it, it's going to happen, and I don't want to prepare for it because it's going to happen quicker. I remember when my mom and dad started their will and their trust, and they got their tombstone, I thought for sure that they were going to immediately die. I don't know, my thoughts were really crazy, but I thought that they were immediately going to die as soon as they prepared for that. So my mindset was like, if we prepare for something, it's going to immediately happen. And I feel like I have a lot to do left on this earth, but my mind shift has been changing towards, like, what you're saying. There's a piece about it in preparing for it. Yeah.
And I think that you do both. You do have a lot to do yet on this earth. You're still young.
But it can be snatched from us at any point.
That's right. It could happen tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And I think that some people have a sense that it's coming. My dad got their tombstones and everything 6 weeks before he died. You know, and he was diagnosed with cancer and died 6 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
You know,
that was quick.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was a terrible experience to go through that, because he was okay and then he wasn't. You know,
my dad died of cancer as well, but his was very long and drawn out.
Yeah, that's sad.
Too long.
Yeah. I think really the chemotherapy killed my dad, because he died 10 days after, right when his immune system would be the lowest. And I don't know what kind of infection he got, but it was endocarditis that killed him, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But you've kind of almost, like, in listening to kind of your obit and talking, you've almost been on death's door, or could have been a couple different times, if not more than that, that you know of. So did the peace of mind come to you after you had that assignment, or was it a gradual thing, or how did you become as well or at peace as you are right now?
Well, I think that dream.
Yes, that was an amazing dream, by the way.
After having open heart surgery, that dream brought me a lot of peace.
Gotcha.
I mean, I was just like, okay, this is okay.
This is cool.
This is okay. I am not worried. And then, you know, I've been studying a lot of philosophers and Buddhism and stuff like that. And I really do think it's okay. I don't think it's like anything really terribly scary. I mean, I think non-believers are scared to have nothing afterwards because they think that's what's going to happen is they're going to lay in the ground.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think people who do have, it doesn't matter what, I'm off the camera a little bit. It doesn't matter like which belief system they have, but if you don't believe in anything after death, it probably does feel scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're just so sick for so long. There are
the
people
pain to go away.
that are so sick for so long that they get tired. And there is a tiredness about some things. Like I went through some things around January 6th when they had the big thing with people storming the Capitol. And, you know, I went through some things like, oh my God, this makes me tired.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It makes me tired to know that there are children starving in this country where we have plenty. You know,
the empath in you.
Yeah, that stuff, and I'm trying to figure out how people could be so crazy and still want to hang the vice president, and you know, and break things in the Capitol building that's been kind of sacred. You know, I mean,
that was a weird day, wasn't it?
It was so awful.
I don't watch the news. I stay 100% away from it.
I don't most of the time.
But I remember that day, like, I have goosebumps even talking about it. I remember, like, couldn't look at it. I was like, is this really happening? Is this?
Yeah, it was sort of like
a movie.
It was almost like 9/11.
Kind of, yeah.
You know, like
exactly.
Are we being attacked?
Which is another pivotal moment.
And then we were attacked from within. I mean, 9/11 at least was somebody across the ocean.
Yeah.
No.
Ooh, that was an awful day in history as well. Yeah. But getting tired of just where we're at with society and the ugliness of people is what I hear you saying.
I'm tired of meanness.
Meanness, yeah.
Of having to put somebody down to feel good about yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You know, of having to have more and taking it from someone who almost has nothing already.
Right. That makes no sense to me either.
It hurts my heart.
Yeah. You can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts.
Yeah. Can you sense, like, this is kind of a different topic, but can you sense evil around you? Like when you, being an empath, I hear that, and I feel like I experience that at times where in certain environments, I feel off. I feel like there's a negative energy or there's a negative force, whether it be whatever you believe in, but I feel it. Do you feel that way sometimes?
Yes. Especially, I've felt that way a lot working with the sex offenders.
Yes. We do have that in common.
And it's not necessarily the sex offenders. It was the state of California. The terrible things. Like I have some poetry in here that talks about that. Like these guys are treated. Yes, they're abominable people, most of them, but they're treated like idiots. They're made to use children's scissors so they can't stab somebody.
Yes.
And now there are some there who would stab people. They can't have posters on the wall because they might hide something behind it.
Right.
And I was kind of like, so what? You know, it's so freaking dark in that place.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, really, it was dark, and not just lack of light dark.
Oh, I can relate.
But just like, oh my God, this hurts. That's when I had the heart attack.
Is it?
I was listening to a guy talk about his fantasies. Yes.
Yeah. I worked in a sex offender unit for 3 years with adolescents, and I initially took that job to build my resume because I thought if I could work with sex offenders, I could work with anything. Well, actually, that felt to be true afterwards. Every day I drove home crying because I couldn't unhear the things I heard. And then I remember, I don't know how far it was into working with sex offenders, but when I would tell people that I work with sex offenders, I almost felt as if they were judging me for working with that population.
Some were.
And I felt like they were looking down and judging and like almost put me in that category because, kind of like what you just did, I'm like, yes, they're sex offenders. The crimes they did, absolutely horrific. I'm not saying there's anything good about that at all. But they are people first. And I hated when people like had this umbrella, like...
If you dehumanize them, and it's not going to help anybody.
Yeah, and I'm like, but, you know, but I'm working with a 13-year-old boy. This is a 13-year-old child.
Mm-hmm.
Like... So, yes, there is almost like a diagnosis,
He's done horrible
right?
things, yes.
Almost like you don't become your diagnoses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt that early on in my career, and it hurt my heart, too, that that the rest of their lives, probably, they're going to have that stigma on them, and it's ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, they're people first. That really affected me a lot.
Yeah. And it's hard.
It is
and
hard.
If you're working with teenage sex offenders, they've probably been child molesters.
Yes.
So that's even harder for me.
Yep.
And it's interesting. Rapists kind of grow out of it when they're in their 50s.
Really?
Child molesters, no.
Yeah.
I had an 80-year-old that had come in when he was in his 80s already when he got arrested the last time for offending against children.
Oh, wow. Well, anyway, we kind of digressed a little bit.
Yeah.
Just feeling the ugly, and so we both have that in common. So tell me about your Native American pull. Like, so you went to, was it when you went to Arizona? Is that when you first started feeling that?
Well, somewhat.
Yeah.
I was really, when I was probably 5, I pretended to be Sacagawea on a farm.
Yeah.
We had a farm, so I was alone a lot. And just, I loved the feathers, and I love the way that they are. The way, like, worshiping with Native Americans is a blast.
And you've done this?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, it's so happy. I mean, it's so joyful. You dance and you sing and you drum and it's just the drum is the heartbeat of the tribe.
Yeah.
So it's like you feel it, and you feel this whole community.
It sounds emotional.
Oh, it's emotional, and it's so, you're so connected. You're so part of everything, you know.
Yeah.
And they are brothers to trees and rocks and grass and snakes and animals, all the animals. They've got the bear dancers, and they've got the tricksters, which are coyote people. And, you know, it's just incredibly interesting to be a part of that, you know.
Yeah.
And there are some things that I couldn't get into, but the visions, sometimes I would have a vision, and some of the Native Americans, like one Native American was so like, damn it, I've been doing this for 30 years now, and I haven't had a vision. You come into a second sweat, and you have a vision.
I want to experience that. I want to go to a sweat sometime. Yeah. And the visions, were they like life-changing visions? Or the simple little visions?
Some were. Yeah, some were. Like the eagle sitting in front of me in a sweat. It was like, now what do I do? You know, is he going to attack me? What's he going to do to me? You know.
And you feel like it's real. It's like it's right there. It's not. I mean, you don't know that it's a vision. You feel like it's real.
I was pretty sure it was a vision.
Yeah.
But
it's still.
Yes. So I told the sweat leader that, and he said, "Ask him where it comes from."
So while you're seeing the visual, you're aware of it enough to ask, like, the leader, "Hey, what does this mean?"
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he says, "Ask it where it comes from." And I asked, and it said I can't even remember for sure how it said it, but something about it had messages and that I needed it. My vision was poor, and I needed its sight. And it was so true. I mean, I have always had Coke lens glasses, you know, and I have to get close enough to touch things before I really think I understand them.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
if you can see them from a distance, you're much safer.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
So it was sort of a message of, be careful what you do here. And then another time I had a dragonfly land on my finger.
You have dragonfly earrings.
I have dragonfly earrings. I have a tattoo on my back. But I had a dragonfly land on my finger, and it said, "Walk as though you cast no shadow."
Walk as if you cast no shadow.
Yes. because dragonflies don't cast a shadow. Their wings are so fine,
Right.
and
Okay.
the sun shines right through them.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was just really upset that my ego was not being fed.
Okay. I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was really like, people aren't recognizing me and giving me my due respect and stuff. And it was like, hey, if you don't cast a shadow, you'll probably get the most done.
Gotcha.
So it was a neat experience. It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
It's
amazing that you remember it.
Most people, when you tell them that a dragonfly talked to you, they go, "Oh my goodness!" And
you're like, you work in mental health.
Yeah, you're working with crazy people. I bet you can relate.
Wow. So you want to implement some of those Native American things in your funeral? Then is that what I'm kind of hearing you say?
Yeah.
So what are some things that you want to do?
Well, I would love to have someone come up from California. I don't know yet if they will.
Yeah.
But they might. And maybe do a little bit of singing, flute playing, dancing.
Why California?
Because they're the ones that I did most of the
okay.
worship stuff with.
Yeah.
In Central California.
So how do you set something like that up?
Well, I talk to them and see if they can do that. If they can, if like, well, what do I have to do? Do I have to get you plane tickets and a place to stay? I mean, would that do it? So
you're having these conversations, or you've had them?
I've had some. Yes. Yeah. And the ones I have some very close friends, or I had when I was there, who are married, and they're both ordained ministers. She worked in a prison as a minister, as a pastor, and he worked in the sex offender treatment program with me. And we did drumming circles, and every Friday, that's how we ended the week.
Oh, cool!
And it was so neat to end the week that way. Yeah. Just kind of let everything go with the drumming, And the Native Americans there were really protective of me.
What do you mean?
If anybody else wanted to bother me, it would be an issue with them.
Oh.
So they really liked me.
So you're one of their own.
I am one of their own, yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Does that just happen?
They invited,
or
I was working with them, and any of them would tell, even one guy who was black walked by me talking to the chief of psychology in the hall and said, "She's the best psychologist you got here." He says, "Yeah, she lets you get away with shit, doesn't she?" He says, No. He says, "She busted me twice, and I had the consequences." But so all of the people that I worked with knew me that way. I mean, I would be honest with them and I would be fair, but I'd hold the line too.
Yeah.
And they need that. It's like, in some ways they are like children who need boundaries, who need somebody to throw a rope around them and rein them in, literally, every once in a while.
Yeah.
But these guys, they liked me. Because there were no women there.
Yeah.
They liked having a woman that's strong. There were two of us that worked with them most. And we were both very strong, She was actually Native American, much more than I am, but it was blast. I mean, it was an incredible experience to be part of that. Well, the first time they invited me to drum with them, I was like, "Are you serious? A group of male Indians are inviting a female to drum with them." That's just because the next pastor that came through there would not allow women to be a part of that.
That's really cool. Yeah. So what an honor that was.
Oh, it was incredibly an honor. Yeah.
So they must have had a lot of respect for you.
They did. And affection, I think. Like, we didn't touch a lot, but occasionally, like, one of them put his head on my shoulder, just like that.
Yeah. Oh.
And one of them said, can I get in that bag? Because I have that bag over there as my flute bag.
Your flute bag?
That red one.
You have a flute bag?
Yeah, so I could put all my flutes in it to take to the...
Oh my gosh.
To the place. And he says, I think they'll get in there. He said to me one time.
So it's just a bag of flutes?
Well, that's a bag that I put my flutes in. Yeah, the red bag right there.
Oh, and the flutes that you have over there?
Most of them are
I should show you guys. I should show you guys her flute stash over there. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I guess we could pick it up and bring it over.
Do you want me to go grab one?
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter which one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to go pack one. Or two.
Or all of them.
Right, so these are the two I picked.
Okay.
Wow.
That is a contrabass. We call it a contrabass. I think it's an F. F sharp. Yeah, it's an F sharp contrabass.
Oh my goodness.
And it's made of cedar.
Yeah.
So it's got a very warm, mellow tone. Takes a heck of a lot of breath to play it.
I bet. It's really huge.
Yes. Yeah.
It reminds me, well, all of these are, so you don't play it like, oh, you do play it like a flute, or you play it like a clarinet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep going. That was beautiful. Look at my goosebumps. Oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. That's so beautiful. Beautiful. Oh my gosh.
This one's a hard one to play.
That brought tears to my eyes.
Because your hands don't go around it real easy and do that. These are the littler ones are much easier. Let's see. Now that, of course, is a Christian song that
yes,
everybody knows.
Yes.
Some of the like the Bigfoot songs and the women's
Bigfoot
honoring
songs.
Yeah, there's a Bigfoot song, a women's honoring song, and there's horse songs, and there's bear songs, and there's wolf songs. Yeah.
So how do you learn how to play these things?
Well, since I played the clarinet,
yeah,
it really was pretty easy.
Right.
Just covering the holes sometimes, especially the half holes, is kind of hard.
It does. Like I said, it looks like clarinet-ish. Yeah. We both played clarinets.
So you would have an easy time. We can play with them later if you want.
My gosh.
We can get two in the same key. Because if we face each other and you do what I do, you can play a song.
All right. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Wow. I'm kind of for a loss for words now.
And I'll give you one that I haven't played since COVID hit, so you'll be safe.
I wasn't even thinking of that. But yes, we probably should be responsible in that aspect. Wow. That is really cool.
Yeah, but that's the hardest one to play.
Yeah.
It's so big, it takes so much, like it barely makes a sound.
Yeah. Comes from your diaphragm. Brings us back on my music days. Wow, that's impressive. So they invite you into their circle.
And we had a flute group.
A flute group.
And so the flute group was
almost sounds like Fruit Loop.
It got pretty once in a while.
Fruit group.
Yeah, he did it. So we had that at like 3 o'clock on Fridays, and then the drumming circle at 4:30 on Fridays. So that was sort of how Friday afternoons went. It was really fun.
Nice.
And they made flutes there. Like they started making some flutes, and some of the guys that worked in that shop were really good.
Yeah. Wow. So what is a Native American funeral like? Or are they different tribes?
Yeah, different tribes would have different ones.
Okay.
And they bury people differently, and you know, different tribes. Like some of them hang, like literally wrap them and hang them up.
Hang them up.
Hang them up, like yeah, like they're without a casket, you know, but you're wrapped and hung between two poles.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then some of the Latin American ones, of course, burn people, do cremation, and they have to put them in a certain position.
I've seen that on TV.
Yeah, yeah.
Where they have kind of like a platform,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're kind of up in the air,
Yes.
and they burn it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. What tribe do you feel like you're mostly associated with? Or is that like a not valid question?
Well, in Tucson, it was Yaquis, because the love of my life was a Yaqui Indian.
Yaqui?
Mm-hmm.
Can you spell that for me?
Yaki, I think.
Okay, just like
Yeah.
it sounds.
Mhm.
Yaqui. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And he was a Yaqui Indian, and we dated for quite a while. And still, if he showed up on my tour and said, my wife died, and I need you, I'd say, come on in.
So if he's watching right now,
so Tony, if you're watching,
put in the comments below,
Yes.
and we'll find a way for you guys to meet. And was that in California or Arizona?
Arizona.
Arizona.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I've learned so much from you today.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Very much so.
I like combining intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
knowing.
It's been really fun. I think our
Uh-huh.
relationship has been really
I
fun.
think so too.
Yeah. You are my mentor, whether you
Okay, I'll accept that.
But, well, thanks for sharing.
Yes.
If you guys have any questions for Dr. Quinn or Karen Quinn, please put it in the comments and I'll make sure she gets it or sees it. Again, this is a topic that most people don't talk about.
Yeah. Most people die without knowing what's going to happen to them,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So do some research,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Find what works for you.
Yep. Yep.
And again, it's inevitable. It's going to happen to each and every one of us. So,
And you really hurt other people if you die with nothing. If you say, like I had 2 cousins die recently, and they did not want any kind of service.
people need closure.
Yeah, one of my other cousins and I said, baloney. Actually, that's not the word we use. But we met here at my house and did pictures and slides and stuff and talked about growing up with this person.
I agree with that. My husband has a family. I shouldn't even put that umbrella statement out there, but there are a few people in his family who has died that they've never done anything for. And to me, my family always does the Christian thing where we have the viewing or the visitation or the celebration of life, and then we have the funeral where we see the body, we go to the gravesite, and to me that feels normal. To me that feels like it's an appropriate closure because I grew up that way. When I met my husband and the first time somebody in his family died that didn't like a service, I was like, wait, that's an option? Like, what do you mean? And I in my heart, I felt like that person deserved a goodbye. That person.
And everybody here deserved to be able to say goodbye.
Yes. It feels icky.
It does feel icky. It felt very icky.
Again, I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. So I feel like there needs to be some sort of closure on everybody's end when it comes to that.
And I've seen memorial services, especially in California, where they're really different. People do just share memories and laughter
and that's good.
Fun,
yeah.
You know.
It doesn't have to be like a cookie cutter, like this is how a funeral needs to go or saying goodbye needs to go. Especially during COVID, I think people had to reinvent
they
that
did.
whole thing.
Yeah. One of my cousins in California's funeral is on video. And we saw it all on video. You know.
How'd that feel for you?
Weird.
Yeah.
Really strange. Yeah.
And so you're watching it alone in your home?
Yeah.
And so you don't have the common
right. So we couldn't be together
Yeah.
and, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would feel weird.
it was weird. It was so heartbreaking to know that she died alone.
Oh,
That was the worst part, is that
Mhm.
nobody, her daughter couldn't stay there and hold her hand. You know, I mean, that should not happen. You know.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was another conversation my husband and I had about like the end of our life or whatever. He's like, I don't really care how I die. I just don't want to die alone. I think that's going to be way scarier. At least sharing that experience. And then I would agree that sounds awful, but we know people do.
I know. I sat by my mom. I mean, you know, both of my parents waited for me to get there. You know, and my mom, I was with her for a couple days before she died, and I sat there, and I remember one night sitting there singing old songs like the Old Rugged Cross. You know,
yes,
because that's what she loved, and she would start moving to the rhythm of the music a little bit.
Yeah,
even though she couldn't talk anymore. You know,
there's something to that. I mean, again, another topic, but there's something to the music and your body's memory. I remember when my mom had a brain aneurysm and she was out of it. She didn't remember any of us kids. She couldn't identify common objects. She didn't know how to walk. She didn't know how to eat. And I remember my brother bringing in her guitar, and we also played music. I can't remember which happened first, but my mind wants to go to the guitar. Brought her guitar in, and she immediately started playing, and the doctor was there, and the doctor was like, what's happening right now? And we were all like bawling and watching her, the woman who couldn't remember to identify the common, and she didn't know any of us. She was playing Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
And we were all like, what? And then her memory started coming back after that.
My mother had a woman who sat at the next table in the care facility, or at the same table with her. And all she could say was, chee, 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 chee. But if you ask her to sing a hymn, she could sing any hymn in the book.
Oh, yeah. That muscle memory.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
So interesting how that is.
So were you trying to sign off there a minute ago?
I was, or kind of wrapping up, but we could continue going. But anything else that you want to say in regards to that?
Maybe we can meet sometime and just go over some of the poetry. You could hear it ahead of time and see what kind of stuff you would like to have, you know.
It's what you want.
Yeah, well, I think for both of us. Okay. I think because it's a community, it's a communication. You know.
Yeah. All right. That sounds good to me. I'm honored that you asked me to be part of it. I was saying if you need somebody, we've been talking about it. I live a half a block away, basically.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very close.
Yeah, very, very close.
Did you get the pool set up?
Did I what?
Get the pool set up.
Yes, I did. Whew, that was an undertaking, let me tell you.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr.
You're welcome.
Karen Quinn. Again, if you're, what's his name? What's
Tony.
Tony
Chana. Get in touch.
Dr. Quinn would like to see you again.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, thanks so much for this topic. It's been fun, even though it's a heavy topic.
Yes, it is. It's a very heavy topic.
And I love the fact that you played your flutes. That's amazing. So maybe we'll play around with that after we.
Yeah. Good.